It is the summer of 2000. 19 million people in Delhi are suffocating under a record-breaking heat wave. To make matters worse, the power grid fails, plunging entire neighborhoods into rolling blackouts. Then, bodies start appearing. A pregnant woman is found dead at the bottom of a stairwell. A man falls to his death from a rooftop. Both of them were running, fleeing in absolute terror from something in the dark. Survivors described an impossible predator, a creature they claimed combined the traits of a man and a beast into a single, lethal hybrid. To understand what was stalking the citizens of Delhi, we have to look closely at the hunting ground itself, this sprawling labyrinth of rooftops and narrow alleys where the shadows were deepest. On May 10th, local police began fielding a sudden wave of frantic calls. But when investigators tried to build a suspect profile, they hit an immediate wall. The descriptions they were getting made absolutely no logical sense. Victims reported being ambushed by a creature roughly 4 feet tall with a thick, ape-like body. They said it had glowing red eyes, metallic claws, and could leap incredible distances between buildings. Law enforcement had zero physical evidence to work with. There was no surveillance footage and no crime scene photographs. They had to rely entirely on panicked testimonies from people who had just been attacked in pitch-black alleys. The investigation had moved beyond the realm of standard street crime. In the pitch-black slums of Delhi, the police were now tracking a cryptid that lived only in the shadows of the blackout. Within days, a handful of isolated reports exploded into a massive wave of panic. Over 350 people claimed they had seen the creature roaming the city. Local newspapers eagerly fueled the hysteria. They took unverified rumors, claims that the beast wore a leather jacket or sported a motorcycle helmet, and slapped them onto their front pages to sell copies. Desperate to regain control, authorities offered a massive reward of 50,000 rupees, roughly $1,000, to anyone who could provide solid information leading to a capture. This financial incentive completely derailed the investigation. Instead of credible leads, the police tip line was flooded with hoax calls and fabricated stories. Every fake report generated a new sensational headline, which in turn terrified more citizens into imagining attacks. The media and law enforcement were feeding a continuous cycle of public panic. The power grid failures didn't affect everyone equally. Wealthy residents relied on generators. The poorest citizens, however, were trapped in complete darkness. The crushing density, unbearable heat, and constant fear pushed these exhausted communities to their breaking point. Delhi's population is largely Hindu, meaning the image of a powerful, monkey-like being was already deeply ingrained in the culture through the deity Hanuman. Under extreme stress, ancient folklore began bleeding into real-world paranoia. These neighborhoods had reached a dangerous flashpoint, where systemic neglect and physical exhaustion left the population uniquely vulnerable to a spreading contagion of fear. That breaking point turned deadly. Unable to rely on the police or the power grid, desperate residents formed their own armed militias to patrol the unlit alleys. In one neighborhood, a mob mistook an innocent van driver for the creature. They dragged him out of his vehicle and savagely beat him, fracturing several bones before realizing their mistake. Those initial victims, the pregnant woman in the stairwell and the man on the roof, weren't chased by a monster. They were running blindly from shadows, killed by their own frantic attempts to escape an imaginary threat. While the city searched for a monster, the panic itself had become the primary threat. The only confirmed blood on the streets was being shed by terrified citizens turning on one another. It took 3 years to fully untangle the mess. In August 2003, the Indian Journal of Medical Science published a comprehensive study that essentially performed a psychological autopsy on the entire panic. This chart maps out the origin of the police reports. It shows a massive spike in East Delhi, the most impoverished region, accounting for 94% of all sightings. Digging deeper, researchers found 89% of those victims lived in extreme poverty. The data exposed a tragic underlying truth. Many of these residents suffered minor scrapes and cuts in their daily lives, but lacked basic health care. By claiming their injuries came from the highly publicized monster, they could finally get the medical attention they desperately needed. No creature was hunting the poor. Instead, the most vulnerable people in the city were using the myth of the creature as a survival tactic. Realizing what was actually happening, the police employed a ruthless tactic. They publicly announced that anyone caught filing a false report or spreading rumors would face immediate, severe jail time. The panic vanished almost instantly. With the threat of prison outweighing the potential for free medical care, the sightings flatlined overnight. Stripped of fresh material, the newspapers abandoned the story entirely. The Monkey Man of Delhi was never a biological reality. It was merely a symptom of extreme economic deprivation, weaponized by sensational journalism and spread through rapid psychological contagion. The monster may have disappeared from the headlines, but the conditions that created it remain, leaving us to wonder, what exactly happens the next time we leave millions alone in the dark?